That's it. All right.
Hey.
I tend to talk too fast.
Or
So I'm going to
too slow.
overcompensate. Dial it back, plans. All right.
Okay, so finishing off Mustard Monday.
Part 2. Well, let's
Part 2.
bring that back for 1 sec.
Yeah.
I want to point out the evolution of our work here. The director and camera person, it's us.
It's
mostly
us.
you, but we're Team Capshaw. There's no Zane and Willa direct. We're in this together. And this is a part 2.
Part 2. Take 2.
Our very first part 2. You saw us earlier today, and if you didn't see it, you can see it on YouTube. But we did Bonnie Stern's Friday Night Dinners, a mustard standing roast beef. It's a primary roast beef. We used our horseradish mustard to hold together the thyme, rosemary, garlic. And we put a beautiful rub on the roast beef. It's now been in the oven for just over 2 hours.
Yep.
We checked it about 40 minutes ago, and it was about 105.
Right. And we are looking for a rare roast because we like our meat rare. We're looking for 120.
Yeah. So we're going to take it out at 120. We're going to put a tinfoil tent.
Okay, be careful behind you.
Thank you. Nice.
Okay, so there's our beautiful looking roast. Let's thermometer it.
So again, it's a really important piece of equipment that you might have. We really want you to have in the kitchen is a meat thermometer, probe thermometer. This is a pretty basic one. It's a simple dial, and we do have a fancier digital one that will alert and send you phone messages and so on. We're just doing it the old-fashioned way. And look, Willa.
It's at 120.
We're getting right up to 120, which is perfect. That's a nice rare roast beef, and right on 120.
Do you want to tend
Yeah,
this?
exactly. So this is the tinfoil that we roasted the beef bones on earlier today.
What I'm gonna suggest is that we put it on this guy. So I'll just move the pan out of the way.
Take this out of the.
Yeah. And then we can just stick it to the side.
There you go. Isn't that a beautiful piece of beef right there?
So
we got a beautiful mustard crust on it with all that garlic and the thyme and the rosemary.
We're just gonna loosely tent this guy.
That'll help hold in some of the heat as we let it rest. And again, the whole resting process is critical when you're cooking meat. You really want the juices to redistribute themselves. Hey, Scotty, thank you very much.
I also read that it also helps the external temperature come down and the internal temperature raise up.
Oh.
So it kind of distributes the heat as well. So that
I had never thought of that, but that makes a lot of sense. So what Will is saying is because of the oven, the external temperature will be higher than the internal temperature, and then resting allows that to balance. That's really smart. Good.
So I thought what we could do, just as I think on the fly.
And we talked about Pickle Rick earlier today, by the way. And this is the Pickle Rick keychain that we have. That was a gift from Sister Mary up in Whitehorse.
Yes. So I'm gonna say we move this guy here, and we just bring the other.
James, you're awesome too. Thanks so much for chiming in. I really appreciate that. That's really nice.
So what we have left in our pan is all our carrots and celery and lots of fat, which is beautiful. So we're gonna make some gravy.
Yeah, we're gonna make a gravy out of this.
Did you want that cutting board?
Which cutting board?
The black loom one. Did we need to cut anything? I'm just wondering if we need anything for anything. Okay. So I can just do this?
Yeah.
Phew. Okay. So we should take out, what should we do?
Well, there was some cutting, because I have to do the shallots for the gravy.
Okay.
I'm going to show you a fine dice. Move that forward.
There we go. Is that too close to you? I don't want you to burn yourself.
Ow! peeling away the outer skin of the shallot. And shallots often come in these sort of dual bundles. You want to sit evenly on the cutting board.
Now, Bonnie's recipe calls for wine. Do we care if we add wine, or are we just going to make it with the drippings?
Just use a bottle of
Okay.
the nicer wine, and we'll just. We had said that we were going to go to the liquor store and buy a bottle of cheap red wine. We didn't make it to the liquor store.
No.
There is a couple of nicer reds over there that we can use for this purpose, and then we'll drink it tonight at dinner when we eat the beef. How's that?
That sounds so nice.
So did you see I went a few slices across, a few slices down, and now I'm going down the dicing up the shallot. You want it to be as fine of a dice as possible. Shallots are wonderful onion flavor. And the beef stock that we were making, that we showed you earlier today as well, has been simmering away. It's bubbling lightly. So it's got a wonderful brown color to it, and there's a lovely aroma over the beef stock pot. It's going to make the basis of a lovely, lovely gravy. And we have our pan drippings here that Will has collected. Monica Johnson's back. Joanne, what color?
I don't know what this one is.
Yeah,
it's 97 though. It's old. Why don't we use this one?
And Joanne says that she's finally has the internet off all day and night. Oh, Joanne, welcome back to civilization, Joanne. Cool. So, are you going to lead us in the gravy recipe?
Or jus. Au jus. So, we are going to take. It's not as hot as I was worried that it would be. So we're going to take some of the drippings from here, which are mostly fat, which is good. We wanted most of the juices to stay in there, and we're going to combine it with some wine and the shallots, and we're going to cook that together.
Flour?
No, this is an au jus, so we don't have to add flour.
Wonderful.
So onions in the fat, we'll saute them a little bit.
Okay.
And then we'll add some red wine and reduce that down.
Okay, so we need a frying pan.
Yeah.
I'll get the
Oh, that's a beautiful one.
cast iron frying pan. And
oh, here. Great.
turn up the heat. So as a rule, always start with a hot frying pan. Don't add your oil and your vegetables or whatever else to a cold frying pan. Do we have the matching set of this one?
Yeah, it's actually here.
Okay, I'll take this one. And we're going to try and pour this off. Is that what we're going to try and do?
Yeah, well, we could even scoop it off. There is a ton of fat because we used some of the fat from our cooking before, right?
We did too.
So those carrots and everything else can maybe get put in a bowl. Did we take it next door
Good idea.
for Jen's?
So we'll take a bowl out. Take everything out.
Yep. Now, normally, if we were cooking, if we were making gravy, normally you want more like drippings. So I also read suggestions that you can cook other bits of meat because you want your juices to stay in there. So, you know, cook off some oxtails or something else that'll give you the juices that you want.
Interesting.
But Bonnie's recipe calls for just the oils. And really, she only calls for 2 tablespoons, and that's way more than 2 tablespoons.
Okay. Do you want the drippings or just the oil?
No, pour it all in. Drippings are flavor.
All?
Yeah, just do it all. Screw it. No, it's beautiful. Chaps Paranormal says Mr. Deli, big time. Hi, Dave. Oh, Edible Van Isle is here.
Hey! Hey, Don.
Carmelo's here.
Carmelo?
Yeah.
That guy's awesome.
Chef Bobby Marcotte.
Bobby Marcotte, that's my hop and grind friend from Connecticut. He's got a couple of great restaurants. Bobby kicked my butt twice now in Guys Grocery Games, or directly just once in Guys Grocery Games.
Great.
Not that I'm bitter, Bobby.
No.
The best man won that time.
Oh, perfect. That's exactly the one I was looking for. I was like, I don't know where it went. So yeah, we're gonna fry our onions, and we're gonna add. We're gonna add a cup or two of wine, and we're gonna pour ourselves a glass.
Yay!
There's the rest.
Cup of two?
Yeah, just start with a cup, and we'll see how it goes.
Ready now?
Yeah, let's do it. Hold it. Okay, stop. Because there's no point in opening a bottle of wine.
No.
If you're not going to have some.
This is one of the lessons I learned from the Galloping Gourmet early on in my childhood, probably before your time. There was a really wonderful TV chef named the Galloping Gourmet, Graham something or other. Somebody's going to come up with the name. For the
The
Galloping Gourmet.
Smoked Traveler says it's sizzling over there.
It is sizzling over here, and we're cooking with gas. So we've got our beef roast resting.
Uh-huh.
We have our pan jus gravy simmering.
Mm-hmm. So this would you just need to let this reduce, and we want to have it reduce down, and then we'll add some of the beef stock to it.
Once it's reduced?
Yeah, once it's reduced, we'll add some beef stock to it.
So beef stock looks fantastic. And we took the roast out of the oven about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
We want to give it about another 10 minutes before we start
Before we
slicing
do
into it.
anything, yeah, I agree. We don't want to. You don't want to rush it. Now, is there any other vegetables that we need for dinner? Carrots, potatoes, onions. I think we're probably okay.
Make a little salad or something, and maybe throw a vinaigrette.
Like, I don't know where you'd find a vinaigrette.
We did our 30-second Thursday with a vinaigrette, and Rebecca Sorokin posted today using our vinaigrette. Scott Neville posted using our vinaigrette, and it really makes us super happy. And
so nice.
When people take what's left in our jar of mustard and add a little vinegar, a little oil, some seasonings, shake it up, and you've got a wonderful mustard vinaigrette. And it's great that these recipes that we're showing you on these videos are things that you're using.
Mm-hmm.
Have we decided what we're going to do for 30-second Thursday this week?
No, but it really will need to be 30 seconds because we're busy on Wednesday. Very busy.
Thursday.
Yes, I know it's a Thursday.
Oh, Wednesday we're busy. You're right.
So
yes.
We need to do our prep work.
That's
beforehand.
true. That's true.
Monica says she has the subtitles on, and she says that we called for a cup of 20 or 21 of wine, which is amazing.
We enjoy our wine, Monica. That's over a little bit over the line.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, this is looking nice. Very nice.
So as you simmer off the wine, the alcohol evaporates, and you're left with
just a nice flavor with the beefiness. Wine and beef go so well together.
So well together, which is why we're going to enjoy this lovely wine with our beef tonight. And we can actually see the roast itself is rendering some of its own juices, which we could, if we wanted to, pour into the jus mixture as well.
And that's why this thing is for collecting the juice, right?
That's right. That's
So
exactly what this cutting board is for. Which was a lovely wedding gift. We can talk about that another day as well. So another funny Bonnie Stern story.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. When I was at the Monarch Tavern, when I first started the restaurant, Bonnie had, as I started to tell the story this morning, that her daughter Anna came to the restaurant and she bought some sandwiches and brought them home for her mom. And I got a phone call right away from Bonnie. And interestingly, as many of you may know, I changed my name. I was born Zane Kaplan, and I changed it to Kaplansky when I opened the restaurant. And I did that for a number of reasons. But one of the outcomes of that was that many people didn't realize that I was the same person. And so, as I told you, I had invited Bonnie to speak to my class at George Brown College. And when she received the sandwich from her daughter, Anna, she called me right away to tell me how wonderful it was and how she loved it. And to me, this is my cousin Bonnie. And you know, we're cousins through marriage. We're not all that close. But she didn't realize that it was me until she came into the restaurant. And then, of course, she did remember me. Later on that summer, Bonnie had called me to say that she was coming in for a lunch, and she was going to bring a special guest. And she wasn't going to tell me who the special guest was. And that day, she calls when she was on her way, and Bonnie says, "Are you there?" And I said, "Actually, I'm in my car. I'm driving up to my lawyer's office, and I was going to go sign the lease on the restaurant space on College Street," which for me was a huge moment, right?
It was at the time. It was a huge moment.
It was, and remains a huge moment. I mean, if you know my story at all, you know that I started as a pop-up in the Monarch Tavern, and I operated there for a year. And I didn't start there because I had, you know, it wasn't that it was cool. It wasn't that it was, you know, pop-ups were awesome. I was broke, and I had no other options of things to do. So it was really a matter of desperation, not strategy. And I was so excited to get into my own space, so excited to be on College Street, so excited to open a real restaurant. And that's the feeling that I had as I was driving up Bathurst Street, and I got this call from Bonnie, and she said, "Oh, well, I guess I better tell you who I'm bringing to the restaurant." And I said, "Yes." And she said, "It's Ruth Reichel." Now, Ruth Reichel was the editor of Gourmet magazine. Ruth Reichel was probably the most powerful person in the English language food world. And I literally jammed on the brakes and did a U-turn.
Awesome.
Screw the lawyer. I can sign a damn contract tomorrow. I'm going to go see Ruth Reichel. And for me to serve Bonnie Stern and Ruth Reichel, to have a conversation about smoked meat and knishes with the queen bees. I mean, these two people. And this, you know, I have to tell our listeners and our audience, and you too, of course, in the restaurant business, it's such a challenging industry. We can see around us right now how challenging it is to the extreme.
Yeah, and we feel for our restaurant friends.
And we feel for our restaurant friends terribly. You know, it's what people are going through. If you want to make a difference, call your restaurant, order from your restaurant.
Yeah.
Don't need to use the third-party apps. You don't need to use Uber Eats or Skip the Dishes. Call directly, and be a big tipper too. They need your support right now, and please find it in your hearts to support them, because I can tell you, even in the best of times, it's extremely hard. And having somebody like Bonnie Stern, who decides to get behind you and push, you know, Bonnie was also responsible for helping me get into the New York Times. And there were so many other instances where, you know, somebody with Bonnie's credibility recommends you to somebody like Ruth Reichel. That opens incredible doors. People, you know, of course, I was actually featured in Gourmet magazine. David Sachs wrote a wonderful feature article. And I'll never forget the night I was driving home, and David Sachs had told me that the full article wasn't going to be in the magazine. It was mostly going to be online, but there'll be a teaser in the magazine. And I pulled into a Shoppers Drug Mart parking lot. It's close to midnight. And I opened up the back of the magazine because I figured there'd be like this little, and in Gourmet Online this month, you'll see this goofball in Toronto. And I start flipping from back to front, thinking that I'm hidden in a back page somewhere. And every page I flip, my soul is crushed a little more. And I kept thinking to myself, well, you know, at least I'll be able to tell people I was in Gourmet Online. I mean, that's a really big deal.
Yeah, it was still a big deal.
I was a Gourmet magazine subscriber. I had never in my entire life ever imagined that I would be in the pages of Gourmet magazine, and even to be in Gourmet Online, which, as it turned out, was the second last issue of the entire magazine.
So anyways, you're flipping through.
And I get to page number 18. And there's a picture of me this big. And then the Z, like the first letter of the article was, Zane Kaplansky had a dream. I stopped breathing. I mean, like, to see my face and my name in Gourmet magazine was, for me, beyond any dream or imagination that I ever had. Those were other people. Those were real chefs. That's not me. I don't belong there. And it really was one of those moments. And it's a guy like David Sachs who wrote that article, and a wonderful person like Bonnie Stern, and even people who I never got to know or meet or be able to thank or celebrate. And many of you might even be watching today. And I really appreciate all of the people who got behind me and pushed, and who even when they had a disappointing experience, or they didn't have the best sandwich of their lives, decided to come back and give us another try. And stuff like that for restaurants makes all the difference in the world. Mm-hmm. I'm hearing Willa doing some work behind me.
I'm adding some of the stock.
So Willa's ladling the stock, and she's using a small handheld strainer, so that we don't get any of the chunky bits. And then tomorrow, actually, I'm going to make a beef goulash out of the beef stock, and I've got some leftover braised brisket that we had made the other day.
Can you just put a little bit of spice? I'll bring this over. Yeah. I'm just going to put it right there, I think.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so it needs to get kind of more incorporated.
Yeah. Maybe a whisk or?
Yeah, I'm not really used to making au jus.
I'm a big jus person.
Like, I'm used to adding a thickener and making it more of a gravy, which we still could at this point.
Scrape down. Now, again, another really important tip when you're cooking, and Willa's doing it now without my even saying so, because she's a brilliant cook herself, obviously. Scraping down the sides is a total pro move. The flavor is concentrated in that crust around the pan. And if you're going to put the pan in the dishwater and send it down the drain, you're going to break my heart a little bit in doing so. That's where the flavor is. And that's where the love is, too. You know, it really, the care that you put into your dish goes into your food. Have we ever watched, like, Waterford Chocolate together?
No, we haven't.
Have you ever seen it?
No.
So we can watch it together then. It's one of my all-time favorite. It's probably my favorite cooking movie. Mm-hmm. And the principle of the movie is that the protagonist, the young woman, has a magical ability that what's in her heart goes into her food in such a direct way that the people who eat her food feel what she was feeling when she made the food. And which means if she's happy, they're happy. If she's sad, they become sad. If she's feeling amorous, they run off into the bushes and do what amorous people do. And I believe in that fundamentally.
Now,
it's good. It definitely needs some salt.
My instinct says that we probably have a bit too much fat in here.
Yeah.
So we could counter that by
making it snow.
We could counter that possibly by adding more onions. The onions will soak up a bit of the fat, or we just deal with it, or we take off some of the fat.
We could also use a fat separator.
Yeah.
Which is a device that we have. It's like a gravy separator when you roast a turkey or so on.
You do want some of the fat. But
I also want to point out that through the magic of internet television, these people never would have actually known that we had too much fat in the sauce.
Give away all the secrets.
It's perfect. I promise. It's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. I saw Aaron Franklin was talking about how to make good barbecue. It's by starting to make bad barbecue. And by making those mistakes and learning from those mistakes, that's how you get better at your craft. And that's what happens to everybody. I remember when I was in George Brown, I went to see Xavier Deschays, who is the head chef of the Four Seasons in Toronto at the time, a really wonderful European chef. And yeah, got some eggshells in this quiche.
It happens.
Happens to everybody.
Happens to
Everybody
everyone.
makes mistakes.
So it's 5 o'clock.
Hey,
Should we disrobe the beef?
we can, we should, and we just did. All right.
Okay.
So I'm gonna use the meat fork,
which should be in here.
which is not in there. Oh, it's over here.
Because you washed
Because
it.
I washed it. That's why.
And do you want like a slicing knife? What kind of knife are you looking for here?
I can use my dick. Actually, I'm happy to use.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So my friend Scott asked me a couple of weeks ago what knife I use, and my Dick knife is absolutely my go-to. So it can do any proper kitchen task, and I'm only too happy to use it. One of those instruments that just makes you feel good to have it in your hand. Now, you can see that we have a couple of strings. Maybe I should keep my knife sharper.
Yeah.
And we're going to pull the strings off without pulling all the
crust
off. Well,
no one wants to eat string.
no one wants to eat string. That's true.
This looks amazing.
And I'm going to free the beef from the bones, because that'll also make it easier to slice. And
oh, that looks good. I can already tell.
This looks, I dare say, perfect. Should we show this to the camera?
Yeah.
So you can see the color.
You know what? Here, you know what I can do?
Oh.
I'll just try to do it this way.
So we can see that pinkness of the meat means that we've got that rare that we were looking for exactly.
Switch my
And
camera.
there's another string there that we'll get rid of. And so now that I've gotten rid of the...
Okay, I'm going to try to add this.
Oh, look at you.
Okay, so
Look at
let's
it.
go down. I'm going to audio. Take a look. There we go.
That color,
That's
that's the rare plus that we were looking for.
beautiful.
Yeah. And I'm
Okay,
going
I'm gonna turn off.
to separate the two bones
Good.
as well. And
Yeah.
look at this baby.
Oh, people are gonna be so jealous. I'm gonna bring this guy forward.
Excellent.
That's our little Instagram right there.
That's the meat cam.
The meat cam. I love it. That's pretty good, actually.
Wonderful. It is
Yeah,
pretty
you're
good.
right there.
So I'm going to. Lovely. A half-inch thick
Yeah.
sort of slices, and again, if we hadn't have let the meat rest for the 20 minutes that we did, there'd be a good chance that you'll see a big pool of blood on the cutting board.
And this is probably more like a medium rare.
Yeah.
Medium.
Yeah.
So, and that was us pulling it out at 120. So obviously the internal temperature went up. So that's also something to be aware of when you're pulling your meat out and letting it rest, that it's going to go up by 5 or 10 degrees.
Yeah. In Bonnie's recipe, she says 135 for medium rare, and that's true. And we know that we like it a little bit less well done than that, so we pulled it out at 120. And like I said, if you like it less rare and you go over, there's no takebacks when it comes to the roasting meat.
You can always, if this is too rare for someone, you can always put a little piece on in a frying pan and kind of heat it up some other way. Stick it back in the oven.
And remember too that your end slices like this one will be a little bit more well done than the interior pieces as well. So there should be something here for everybody to eat and enjoy. And speaking of eating and enjoying,
Oh, should we try some?
I think it's our responsibility to.
We really should. I
to
mean,
do
you
that.
don't want
Enjoy
to sell
that,
people.
baby.
Oh.
And I'm gonna have a little of the yeah. What if I a little dunky dunky?
That is so lovely. The mustard shines through with that little bit of garlic and salt crust. You've got the tenderness of the beef, which is juicy, and it's just really spot on.
One of the things that I learned on the Food Network was that you're supposed to take little princess bites. This is what Guy calls them, princess bites, so that your mouth isn't full when you're talking with the food. I find it really hard to take princess bites. This beef just has the most wonderful beefy flavor, deep and rich, and the crust on the mustard schmear that we put on the outside of the beef just contrasts so nicely with the beef itself.
Yeah.
The jus, you should do a little dunk there.
Okay.
Play with your food. It's fun.
This is not a princess bite. It's sitting on a princess.
You're not a princess. Well, you're my princess. Right? Here. No?
Oh, that's really nice.
So that's part 2 of Bonnie Stern's mustard roast beef. We did a bone-in prime rib roast.
Yeah.
She calls for a slightly different cut of meat, and we had a few other small variations involved. But this is going to be our dinner tonight, folks. We have our roasted pan vegetables. We're going to make a nice salad with that. We have some potatoes that we made earlier as well for your dad. And I think we're going to have a very happy family tonight.
I think it'll be A-okay.
Thank you for coming by. Thank you for listening to our stories.
Oh, there's the door.
There's the door which says, "Where's dinner, folks?" Well, we're going to go serve dinner. Thanks for coming by today. Thanks for being part of the fun. And it's been a real pleasure to cook for you. Hello.
All right, we're just finishing up, Mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Say goodnight.
I'll just leave you. I guess. Just
No, wait.